Welcome to a present from the past.
The show for all your paranormal needs.
Hello and welcome to another episode of A Presence from the Past. My name is Weldon. I will be your host, and this is
Dorothy.
the sister. Meh.
Meh.
So we've already done a couple of videos talking about different procedures, different steps as far as doing a investigation and all the fun steps involved in that. First one was meeting the client. Second one is historical research. Third one is actually getting set up for the investigation. And this one is actually going to be the actual investigation. So first thing you want to do is hit that subscribe button down below and hit the like button, dislike button, leave a comment, whatever. If you want to see more content like this, definitely hit the subscribe button. You can also check out my websites at presencefromthepast.com. Check me out on Facebook and Instagram, also both the Presence from the Past. And okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to determine your teams, and you want to make sure you have at least 2 members in each team.
Why is that?
Basic rule of thumb is for safety. You want, and when you're doing an investigation, you want to make sure that you have a visual of the other person at all times, the other teammate. The other reason for that is that you don't want, I'm sorry, brain fart. If you have, if someone witnesses something, you want at least 2 people to witness it. That way you have some sort of credible backup for your story. Otherwise, if you're the only one that's witnessed it and you have no evidence to go along with it, as they like to say, cool story, bro.
Exactly.
So always have someone else there to witness what you've witnessed, and also for safety reasons. Also, you want to make sure you jot down any type of personal devices brought, meaning if someone brings their own voice recorder, their own EMF reader, or whatever, kind of inventory the list of devices brought. It's for a couple of different reasons. I guess one of the main ones is to make sure you leave with everything that you brought with you. Otherwise, some of that equipment can get expensive pretty quick.
Very much so.
Like one of my personal favorite devices is a millimeter. And depending on which model of millimeter you get, can run anywhere from $100 up to almost $300. So, definitely note any personal devices. And then after that, you got, once you get your team members broken down, you want to set, and this depends on the size of the property too. You want to set an allotted time for each group to go in and how long they're in. Smaller properties, you can probably do a little bit shorter times. Larger properties, obviously going to need more time to investigate. Also, you got to plan out. If you have a multi-floor or multi-level area that you're exploring and you decide to send teams on different levels, you kind of have to
Make sure they're far enough apart so they're not interfering with each other.
Right. You don't want them walking around and somebody else recording them walking around and thinking they actually caught something when it's just the other team on another floor.
Right. I heard voices. No, actually, that was just Bob in the garage laughing.
Right. And that brings up another note. While you're doing an investigation, if you're recording, make sure to call out all your sounds. Like if you hear something outside, say what you hear.
Motorcycle.
Right. Train.
Dog bark.
Right. Ice machine. Any of this stuff. And the reason you want to do that is because when you're listening to the audio later, there'd be no confusion.
Another big one to make sure that you're letting people know about is if you're moving around in a room and you hear footsteps. If I hear somebody walking, if I'm doing the evidence review, I just hear footsteps. I don't know that it's attached to one of our team members in there. So make sure you call out when you're walking around the room.
Also, you want to call out any, and I know this is going to get embarrassing for some people, any bodily noise that your body makes. If your stomach growls.
I'm notorious for that one.
If you pass gas.
He's notorious for that one.
You must call it out. And I know it can be embarrassing at times, but it'll save you a lot in the long run when you're doing reviews of the evidence.
Evidence review doesn't want to sit and listen to you fart 20 times over trying to figure out where it came from.
Right. You hear that?
What was that? Can we
Almost
test
sounds like
the-
a growl. Is that a growl? And then play it a little bit longer. Sorry. No. We're listening to Weldon. But yeah, call out any and all. And that includes if you accidentally bump into something while you're walking along and you bump into something and, hey, that was Weldon, counter. Everything. It'll make it a lot easier in the long run.
Absolutely. The other thing is when you're in a room investigating, another thing to call out would be like if you see something or hear something or feel something. That way, if somebody's watching video, they can watch for whatever you saw. If you heard something when we were listening to audio, we can see if we heard that on audio as well. So it's just kind of a place marker, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Right. And that works for a lot of stuff, too. I just completely brain matter.
That was a while ago.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, call out stuff, whatever you're feeling, whatever you've noted. And also when you, at the end of your investigation, you're going to put together a report of every room, and you break it down, every room you've gone into, what the temperature was when you walked in.
That's why these come in handy.
Right. And if you were feeling anything, if anybody claimed they were feeling anything, if you noticed a change in temperature or EMFs, you want to write that down. If you saw anything strange, you want to write that down.
I mean, it's easier when you're going through the room and being in the moment to write stuff down as you see it, because when you get out of the room, it's kind of exciting sometimes if you see something, and you will absolutely forget to write everything down, forget to write down what you saw, what you heard, and by the time you get home, you've replayed the story and the scenario in your head so many times that at that point it becomes muddled and you're not quite sure what it was you really saw.
Right.
So we were talking about this here a while back, having pens that lit at the tips,
Yeah.
so that you could write and see what you were writing in the dark. But any little thing to help time frame, it's best if you can look at a clock right then and there and write down what time it is, so you have some reference point to go with.
Absolutely. Also, something else that we kind of brought up, or at least we brought up while we were talking about it, is when you go to do an investigation, there are only a couple of people that really need to know everything about that's going on out there. The reason is you want to do something that's kind of, it's like a blind investigation.
Right.
Because you want your, and it's not to harm anybody or anything of that nature. It's just so that they don't get their own preconceived ideas of what's going to happen while they're there. Because if you start focusing on those few things that could happen, you'll miss things that actually do happen.
Right.
And so that's definitely important.
Bob always likes to show himself in this corner at this certain time every day.
Right.
Well, I'll come to find out that's when the the porch light comes on and shines through the glass and projects what looks like a picture of someone standing there.
Right. And I mean, it's just, like I said, people get so wrapped up and focused on those things that they completely forget about all the other important elements that are at play here. I think that pretty well covered everything. Do we want to go ahead and talk about some of the more popular equipment?
Sure, go for it. We already talked about the two major things to have at any investigation. It's going to be your biggest help are these two things right here.
Right.
Pen and paper. There's something all of us have on us usually that comes in handy.
It's actually, I'm using it right now to view the camera through my phone. So your cell phone, long as it's in airplane mode, and the reason you do that is so you're not interrupting or getting the little messages every 2 seconds.
Beep, beep.
Dorothy.
Beep, beep. Beep, beep. Beep, beep.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Right. So you leave it in airplane mode, but you can still use the camera option, and you can still use the voice recorder option on both of those.
Right.
And these are relatively inexpensive items. The notebook, pad, get it for $1 at the store. Cell phone, 9 times out of 10, someone's already got one on them.
Right.
And then you can start getting into the more expensive stuff.
EMF detector you can pick up on, I know, certain places for like $20 or so. So
Right.
they're not very expensive. Room thermometer, infrared thermometers. Of course, the video cameras and stuff.
Right, video cameras. And when you start doing video cameras, you want to start making sure that you have a night vision cameras or IR light cameras. But other things, other equipment that is useful and I think helps out a lot is, I talked about it earlier, the millimeter. And the reason it's one of my favorites is it has EMF on it. It also has temperature on it. So those are two of the biggest things that you use. But as you get the fancier things, the fancier models all the way up to like almost $300 or something like that, they have some that have the a built-in REM pod. And now a REM pod is
Fun to play with.
they're fun to play with. They're pretty much an EMF detector by lights. So it has a little antenna that pops up that reads the EMF in the room, and if any strong EMF comes up and touches it, it lights up. And it's great, especially when you have a stationary camera that's watching it while you're doing your investigation, just to pick up anything. I've seen it light up a few times during an investigation, and it's always kind of exciting because you're like, okay, what's that? After that, you start getting into the more expensive stuff because REM pod set you back probably about $100. Millimeter anywhere from $100 to $300. Just a thermometer or a regular EMF reader anywhere from $20 to probably $75. After that, you start looking at Thermo Cameras, and Thermo Cameras will show you the heat signatures in rooms. And what's cool about them is they'll even pick up, like if you're aiming one at the desk here, I can put my hand down for a minute and then remove it, and you'll actually see a handprint from where my hand was.
Signature.
Huh?
The heat signature.
Heat signature. After that,
You have the really cool one that's mounted with the PS and the
I know you're not talking about that one. Okay.
We have a love-hate relationship with this one.
No, I hate it. Plain and simple. She's talking about the SLS camera, okay, or XLS. I think it's XLS.
SLR, something like that. Anyways.
Anyway, the whole premises of this camera is they took a camera off of a gaming system, the Kinect off of an Xbox, and tied it to a tablet, and supposedly it reads like it'll map out a person that it picks up and show it on the screen so you can use your arms as the controllers and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone took that and decided to use it for paranormal investigations. I get it. I'm not 100% sold on it. And so I don't really trust it all that much. Yeah, it's cool. It shows you some stuff. But in all honesty, I wouldn't rely on it as a reliable piece of equipment.
Oh, come on. Why not? They're cool.
Yeah. So the XLR camera. There's no scientific data that backs it, okay?
Right.
Nothing. And I've seen it aimed up at walls, and it will pick up a person on the wall. You start looking at some of the stuff on the wall, and it's like, well, I can kind of see what looks like a person on the wall.
Right.
So
Patterns.
you start asking yourself, is that what it's picking up, or is it legitimately picking up something? Because some of the stick figures that thing draws.
We've seen them twerking on stairs and.
Yeah. So I take it for what it's worth. The XLS, LS, however, whatever the camera name is. If you want to use it, use it. I wouldn't put too much faith in it as hard evidence.
Well, unless you used it in conjunction with other equipment.
Thermo Cam, millimeter, or just an EMF reader.
Yeah.
Either one of those, okay, but
Just by itself, no.
yeah.
They're cool to play with. They're fun to look at.
Right. And I
But-
mean, if you're doing a show on TV, it generates excitement,
Yeah.
but in my opinion, that's about all it's worth.
Right.
The other thing that I'm on the fence about, I'll admit I'm on the fence about it, is the spirit box.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier.
The reason I'm on the fence about it
Okay,
is,
for those of you who don't know what the spirit box is, that's the one that surfs through the radio stations really fast, and it generates what's supposed to be white noise. So it just keeps repeating through that, and as you're asking questions, it seems like somebody's talking to you through there. Well, you don't know if it's somebody actually talking to you or if it's just happenstance that it picked up those words as it's scrolling through.
right.
So it's kind of hard to say, get a definite yes or no on those.
Right. And it's kind of like if you stare at a wall long enough, you'll start to make out faces.
Mm-hmm.
If you listen to something long enough, you'll start making out words. Now, are those words really there, or did your mind kind of put them there?
Right.
So, again, another one of those is really cool, especially when it sounds like someone talking to you from the other side. It's one of those that I can't put a lot of faith in. I want to, especially when you're getting all the right answers you want to get.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when there's like incidences where it's full sentences carried out.
Right.
Those kind of, okay, that seems a little bit impossible. But when it's just like the one word response,
Mm-hmm.
it seems a little flaky to me.
Yeah. But again, this is all theory, and you try to see what works for
true.
you and what works for the next person, and different situations call for different things. So
Yeah, that's true.
I found these little toys to play with on Amazon. They're technically cat balls. And if you touch them or move them, they light up.
What did the cats do to deserve that?
I can't answer that question. But
Well, there's several devices like that. There's also the Bear Buddy, or where it's a teddy bear with a EMF reader inside of it, and it lights up.
Right.
Those are kind of cool. I'd like to play around with those. And I rely a little bit more on EMFs than I do anything else, because it seems like
that's a little bit more proven.
It's a little bit more. There's a little bit more history with it versus just about anything else. Now I know the first electronic voice phenomenon happened like forever ago, back when it was actually still.
Oh, back when you were talking about going into the old seance rooms and.
Oh, no. I'm
that.
talking about when they first started like recording. I think there was one when they did the first telephone. There was one from way back when.
Interesting.
I have to look into it, but
Yeah.
I could have swore I remember a story of them recording one of the first EVPs way back when.
I think one of the biggest things to remember about when you're actually doing an investigation, this goes back just a step back for a second. When we go into a place, it's a matter of trying to disprove things.
Very much so.
We don't want to go in and say, okay, well, see, our EMF picked up over here, and we got EVPs from over here. Yeah, no. If you're getting high EMFs over there, why? Oh, because there's a freezer on the back side of that wall. So it's always situational. Be aware of your surroundings. Know what's on the other side of the wall. We
Right.
had one case we were working where the person kept hearing knocking on the wall, and we heard it on audio. We heard it in person, but the one downside is we didn't have a camera set up in the room that was on the other side of that wall.
Right.
So we couldn't go back and say definitely that was a knock on the wall and from some unknown source, because we didn't have the backup for that other side of the wall.
Yeah.
So, but that goes back into equipment and placement and everything else.
And another thing with the equipment is you got to know. Practice with it before you bring it out to an investigation.
Oh, yeah.
Get to know your equipment before you go out with it, because when you're on site, all sorts of things happen.
Yep.
Namely, batteries drain out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many batteries I've had to change on the fly.
But is that because of an entity in the room, or is it because that equipment burns through the batteries that fast?
Could be either one. If you know your equipment, you know about how long it takes to
Right.
burn through batteries. Whereas if it's, the other thing is, when you get done with your equipment on a investigation, I highly recommend take out all your batteries, because if you're not going on another investigation for a couple of months, a week, or whatever, then your batteries are going to have a chance to erode, and that'll cost you equipment.
Yeah, we had some equipment that was lost because of that, and some of them was, pretty cool equipment. But when the batteries erode in there and eat everything away, you can't save it.
Yeah. You got anything else to touch on this?
Do you have to have all the expensive equipment?
No.
Like I was saying, those cat balls I found on Amazon were like $2.
Those poor cats.
I know, right?
But yeah, I mean, those are motion sensitive. You can also probably find some motion sensors that are, $4 or $5 somewhere. You
Right.
can use those to, do whatever with. You could use your phone for a lot of the stuff. But it's always fun to play around with different stuff, like her getting the cat balls, poor cat. But you move them and they start lighting up.
Right.
So it shows some sort of motion.
And if you have them sitting on a flat table, why would they be moving anywhere
Right,
unless something was
right.
messing with them?
And
Same with the flashlight, the twist on flashlights.
Right. I'm going to have to pull that video and show it to everybody.
Yeah. That was kind of cool. We had one investigation we did where we sat there and that flashlight was going off and on, off and on, off and on for quite some time.
Oh, I remember that investigation. So, just a quick story, and then we'll wrap it up.
That was the one Weldon made the big boo-boo on.
You talking about
The DVR system.
Oh, good point about knowing your systems and knowing your equipment. I was doing after the fact. I was reviewing the video, and the DVR system that we have. It's kind of weird. You have to have a camera plugged into every port. Anyway, somehow I ended up recording over part of all of the investigation. So, but the rest of the equipment and stuff that we were able to capture while we were there, we were at one point where we had the flashlight, we had millimeters, we had the REM pod, and I think one other thing set up in this room. And the question was brought up, and it was something to the effect of, do you think so-and-so had something to do with your murder? Everything just went.
It was crazy.
It was like a neon light in freaking Vegas. It was bright. Mm-hmm. It was like, wow.
I'll take that as a no.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
We got to go now. It was nice meeting y'all. Yeah, everybody watch out for everybody. Let's just get back away slowly. No, but yeah, that was crazy. That was insane. Anything else, Dorothy?
I think we're good. I think we covered just about everything.
I think so too. Once again, please hit the subscribe button down below, hit the like button, hit the dislike button, leave a comment down below to let me know if you like this content or if you want me to do something else. Or if you want me to look into a haunted location or something, leave a comment down below. Don't forget to check out my website, A Presence from the Past, my Facebook, A Presence from the Past, my Instagram, A Presence from the Past, Dorothy's Facebook page, my Facebook page.
We're all on there.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us, and until next time.
Peace.